Hey, welcome to Happy in 15. Today's topic is about how to get the whole IT department into the ITXM bus. And hey, can you Sami start by explaining usually the situation? There's maybe usually like an early adopter champion type of person that thinks that, hey, this is something we need in our organization, and maybe he or she is the one that understands the world of experience and why is it important. But if you want to go through like the typical situation you usually see with people.
Kind of you summarize it a bit already there in the question, but it's very, very typical that there is that one or two people in the organization that are really, really into the idea of experience management. And we very often get those questions that how I can get all the others on board and how I get them to understand how important this is. And they are really trusting that message or that kind of a story. They understand that the old way is not enough for business. Very many of these people are coming to IT from the business side, and that is giving them the strength of questioning the old way of doing IT or old way of measuring the results and value of IT. But it's a really, really typical still. Very, very often the whole IT management team would be really behind experience. Kind of I see that to be kind of it would be unrealistic to think about anything else, because IT has been working from the days it was invented 40 years or something ago. It has been using the same metrics, which SLA based. Are servers up and running? Yes, they are. Are we answering tickets in time? Yes, we are, and so on. But and those are fact-based things.
True.
And that's why it's the people who are starting to push, and sometimes you're really pushing experience management into the rest of the organization. It is hard work because that tradition of how to measure ID is so strong.
Yeah. And I think something that we just recently tried to create just to help these people to actually get the message, get the vocabulary, what are we talking about to the same level, is that we created this ITXM framework foundation course. So there's this online course at itxm.academy that you can do a certification. So maybe that's also one thing that these people could do, is like recommend that to your colleagues. If they can spend that hour to understand what is it about, and then you can have the same language that you start talking about. I think that's like also like a really good first step to get started with ITXM.
Yeah, and I think we have heard that at least 3 times now that organizations have done that before they have some kind of a design day or something like that. Name different, of course, in all organizations, but really get that alignment and then have a discussion. Is this something we are ready to or wanting to do?
Yeah. What else? Anything else about these people, about the situation? I remember sometimes you said that you talked for a person saying that this is going to be my career move.
Yeah. That is something that is, those people who love it, they very, very typically, there is a really strong alignment and really strong kind of thinking that this is the thing that should be done. And that kind of creates that need that, hey, I want to be the first one. I want to be the one bringing this to our organization, which is really great to see. And of course we are willing to help and kind of help them to show the value. But it's so, when it comes to how to help these people, it's about ITXM, as you said, the framework, and getting people to understand that experience management is not equal to measurement. There are other areas in there that you really start to get results. And to see is to believe, maybe one of the world's oldest sayings, but that really is the thing also when it comes to experience management. And very, very typically our recommendation is that start from service management, service desk, because in that area you already have typically at least some way of handling satisfaction on continuously basis. So you are measuring something related to experience. You are maybe having people using the data and so on. So that jump in that area compared to some other areas of IT is much, much easier.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the good thing with IT service management is that then you are running things already as services. And it's much easier to implement this kind of approach to something that you are already running as services compared to something that you're kind of just ad hoc managing and reacting when something is not working and just fixing it and, let's say, keeping the lights on type of situation.
And you have like continuous improvement process up and running. and experience management is a great input to that process.
Yeah.
So you don't have to invent everything.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of the, as I said, start from that.
Yeah, and I think another good thing that you said was like start with something and kind of start slow and show. So don't expect that the first time you have this experience data that people instantly get it. Just keep showing it and keep having this conversation that what do you see, and if they see that I don't really know what to do with this, then give some examples. You know, you can use this data together with your operational data to justify this thing that you always wanted to do. So have this personal motivation for your colleagues that you know that they have been wanting to do something. And if you can tie it into experience data that, hey, this actually tells the story, this gives you the facts in a way to allow you to start doing the thing that you have passion for.
And I think it's all about giving that example. So, and when you start to do it, let's say service experience side, or you start to do that in the applications, for example, very key thing to get everybody involved is to be transparent. And now meaning transparent to everybody in IT. Even one of our customers did it. They sent an invite to our tool for everybody, 6,000 people in the organization. That if you want to see how IT is handling experience, go here. That is something maybe not we would recommend to do, but they did get the point through. They wanted everybody to understand that now IT is interested and they are doing things to get experience higher. But the transparency is the first step. Transparency creates trust.
Yeah, and maybe on that's still what you said about inviting everybody. I think maybe in a way just giving an invite and then they don't understand what they're seeing is not the best way possible. But too many times we hear this other way of certainly we can't give this to everybody because then they start micromanaging or they student. No, it just means that then they trust. And if you have this kind of monthly meeting or whatever weekly meeting where you always look at it together and talk about it, then that's the way to get this, get the message out there. Not just maybe not just sending 6,000 invites and expect people to start using it. But
exactly that you, let's say transparency in an IT management team. Even though you started in one area, start to share those results openly with the whole management team, going through the results, showing that in 6 months' time your scores have been going up. Then it turns very rapidly around, and the other people in the management team start to ask, can they join?
Yes.
And at that point, you really get the whole IT management team to work on the same goal, because of course, service management is not separate part when it comes to application development or any other areas of IT. If those are not working, you cannot fix everything. Let's say the IT total reputation purposely if you don't have all the IT team involved. But you don't have to start from that, and that has been quite often now the discussion when I discuss with CIOs and when I discuss with service management side of people. They are really struggling with this one, that how I get others involved.
Yeah.
And that discussion takes quite a long time to kind of get the understanding, because experience management is not exactly the same when you talk about laptops and you talk about remote working or you talk about application development. So there are small things that you have to do differently.
True.
But it's a way that you have to kind of first, I said, again and again, I'm going to repeat in this, start from one of them, that you can show the results to others.
Yeah.
And then there is no end.
Yeah.
Then everybody start to be aligned with that target.
Yeah. And then I think something that what we always try to push is to set a KPI, but keep it very simple.
Yeah.
Many times IT people, especially us, we make things too complex. We have balanced scorecards and we all kind of things, and then the normal IT department employee doesn't anymore understand what am I supposed to do or how can I actually contribute this. So if you just have this single KPI of making the end users happy, then we know that there are these things that follow. There will be more productivity, there will be other positive effects of it. Yeah. But as a target and what you talk about, just keep it as simple. And you can always say that, well, if people are happy with the service, then all the other KPIs must be aligned, because availability, otherwise it doesn't matter if it's not okay, but people are happy with the service. But then kind of not trying to make it too complex. I think it's also a good way. I think one one really big barrier for change is complexity. If you make this super complex, nobody's going to understand what you are trying to say, what are you trying to achieve, and then they will just continue doing what they already know.
Yeah, because it's in their head, it is facts,
True.
the old IT world. And now people telling you what they live under their head is a new thing. So that is kind of the key thing here, that yes, what experience management needs is willing to change.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that kind of if your organization, the whole IT, your CIO doesn't want to really move to the area of leadership here and really leading with the experience targets and showing the value to business. If you want to be more like more secure, you want to stay in the making sure we do what we have agreed to do, then the change for these guys who are pushing experience management in is much bigger.
Yeah. And
then you need more and more discussions, but more and more, of course, we are very, very willing to help and have those discussions, because it's good to understand the pain points of CIOs of globally and how they are feeling and why it is hard to think about moving to experience management. I love those discussions. They are pushing us further as well as an organization.
So now Sami promised it, so just contact him on LinkedIn or directly on Twitter or something and ask the difficult questions. And I would say that also, actually, when you do the ITXM Foundation certification, you actually get invited to the IT Experience Management group in LinkedIn, which we really try to keep as people who know the vocabulary, who understand this, and they are usually these early adopter champions from our customers and not from our customers, just around the world in IT place. And maybe those are the places where you can ask about what should I do next, and I have this issue, and how do I convince people. But we are really happy to help on social media as well.
For sure.
Okay, Sami, if we summarize a bit, what is really the recommendations? So first one was to see is to believe. So kind of start slowly, show it, communicate it, and just give people time, I guess.
Yeah, and it's you need time. It's like 3 months measure, 3 months really sharing the data, then start to talk about setting those KPIs to the first people really on their personal scorecards or otherwise, or with your partners.
Yeah.
But focus on first on making sure and thinking about who should be seeing this data, so that they start to think about it, how they can influence. So that is really, and don't try to start with everything at once. When we are talking about measurement areas in our company, but only start from service experience or only start from applications. Whatever is the most critical area in your organization, that is the area where you should be starting. And now I mean those areas where you are going through maybe some big changes in the future.
Yeah, and also where you get traction, where you have like-minded people. Don't try to, again, it's like, don't try to fight it in a way. Get those people on the bus first who are willing to get there. Then they will show the example, and suddenly more people will start getting on board. And I guess finally, summarizing the 4 things that we usually say, that the transparency, trust, focus, and results. Yeah. So
you need to, before getting to the results, you need to do all those 3 things in there, or they are creating in that. So when you're transparent, there will be trust between you and the partner, between you and the business. When you have that trust, you really can focus. So opposite what you said in the beginning, that if you said the data, it would be micromanaging things. No, then you focus on the things that really matter, and that is really creating the results.
Yeah.
So I love those four words when they are putting after each other.
All right. But hey, I think that ends this episode. So thank you for joining this episode of Happy in 15, and stay safe and stay happy.